Something that I hear a lot from people who actually look like they're doing really well in their life, they say something like this. I don't understand. I work for this life, the job is stable, things are okay, nothing's really wrong. So why do I still feel lost? And when they say the last word lost, they almost whisper it. Like it's not something that they're allowed to feel. Like if they say it too loudly, someone might come and say, what do you mean by lost? Look at everything that you have. Right? And maybe you've had that moment too, where on outside everything looks fine, but inside there is this quiet feeling that you really can't explain. I'm not talking about a huge breakdown or a crisis, but just this small persistent question that keeps showing up in your mind. Is this really it? Is this my life really it now? And if that question has ever crossed your mind, let me tell you, you're not alone and you're in the right place. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Kelsang Bhutia coach, and I work with people who are responsible, capable, high-functioning people who are doing really well in their life, right? People who show up for their families, people who work really hard, who carry a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. And yet, sometimes those same people sit quietly and wonder why something inside feels them disconnected or off. Right? Not empty exactly, but not fully alive either. And I think this happens more often than we actually realize. Because somewhere along the way, most of us have learned how to build a life that makes sense without learning how to build a life that feels like us. And think about the path that many of us have followed, right? Study hard, choose something practical, get a stable job, don't take unnecessary risks, be responsible, make your parents proud, build security. And none of those things are actually wrong. In fact, those are the things that help you survive. They helped you create stability, right? They helped you build the life that you actually have today, right? So I'm not saying those things are wrong. But here's something really interesting. When you build your life based only on what makes sense, sometimes your heart doesn't get insulted in the process, right? So then years go by and you continue with the flow, right? You achieve things, tick those boxes, move forward, and then one day suddenly you pause for a moment and realize you're not even sure if the life that you've built actually feels like it belongs to you. And that's where this feeling of being lost starts to appear, in those small moments, right? Maybe you finally achieve something that you've worked for years and years, maybe a promotion, a milestone, a goal that you have achieved, right? And instead of feeling the excitement that you really expected, you feel strangely neutral, like you should be happier than you are. Happens? Or maybe you notice yourself scrolling endlessly on your phone, looking for something interesting, and nothing really sparks your curiosity or your interest. Or maybe you see someone doing something bold, taking risks, right? Changing career, starting something new, starting something of their own, right? Taking a risk. And instead of looking at them, you feel this tiny pull in your chest, almost like a whisper that says, what would that feel like? But almost immediately, another voice shows up, the practical one, the responsible voice, the voice that says, don't be ungrateful with the life that you have. You have such a good life. Don't complicate things. Everything is going well in your life. Just follow what you have. Continue with what you have, right? And so you push that feeling down and you go back to your own routine and life continues. But that small whisper doesn't disappear. It just waits because it hasn't been addressed. And here's something interesting that's happening. Over time, we build our identity around the roles that we play. The responsible one, the strong one, the reliable one, right? The one who always keeps things together. One who doesn't make mistakes, right? And these roles become so familiar, they become safe, and because they are repeated again and again, they slowly start to feel like who we are, becomes our identity. But here's the thing, roles are definitely useful. They help us function in this world, but they are not the full story of who you are, right? And when your entire identity becomes built only on around these roles, something important gets lost. The person underneath these roles, the part of you that feels curious, creative, alive, interested, right? And when that part of you hasn't been listened to for a very long time, you start feeling disconnected from yourself. And that's when people say, I feel lost, right? But when I hear someone say that, I often see it very differently. I don't hear someone who says who is lost. I hear someone who is waking up, because that feeling, that quiet discomfort, that moment of questioning is often the first sign or first step that something inside you is ready to grow. Something inside you is ready to change, right? Something inside you is curious to know what you really want. The version of who you built this life to this point needed security, needed stability, needed to prove something, needed to create safety. And that version of you did a great job. You built something solid, right? But the version of you that is emerging now might need something different. Maybe it needs meaning, it needs expression, it needs freedom, it needs a space to explore parts of you that were never explored before. And those needs can feel confusing at first, and that's absolutely normal, because nothing is technically wrong. Your life works, but something inside you wants to feel more connected. That's it. And here's where sometimes people panic. They think that this feeling means that they need to change everything, quit their job, move cities, rebuild from scratch. But that's not what this moment is actually asking for, right? Most of the time, this moment is simply asking you to start paying attention. Pay attention to what gives you energy. Pay attention to what drains your energy. And pay attention to moments when you feel curious or excited or interested or feel more like you. Because those small signals are the clues of about parts of yourself that want you to come back to your life. Maybe it's something creative, or could be like learning something new, or could be speaking more honestly. It could be anything that you really want in your life, right? Maybe it's trying something without worrying whether you'll be good at it. And sometimes the first step is simply asking yourself a question you may not have asked in a very long time, which is, what do I really want in my life? Not what is expected, not what is practical, not what everyone else thinks makes sense. Just, what do I want? And if your mind goes blank when you ask that question, that is absolutely normal, because that's actually okay when you start it, when it's the beginning. Because when you have spent years focusing on responsibility and expectations, your own voice can get a little quiet. It just needs time to come back, right? Which is why I said it's absolutely okay. So if you have ever found yourself feeling lost in the life that you have built, try not to judge that feeling. It doesn't mean that you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean that you're failing. And it doesn't mean that your life is wrong. Sometimes it simply means that you've reached a point where you're ready to reconnect with yourself. And that awareness, an awareness like that can make you feel uncomfortable, because once you see it, you can't completely ignore it anymore, right? But awareness is also where the change begins. So maybe this phase of your life isn't about having all the answers. Maybe it's about finally asking yourself that question you were too busy to ask before, right? Not what should I do next, but something really deeper. Who am I becoming now? What do I really want? Because life isn't just about building achievements, right? It's about growing into different versions of yourself over a period of time. And sometimes feeling lost is simply the moment right before you rediscover who you are becoming. So if you are in that space right now, be gentle with yourself. You don't have to rush. You don't have to figure out everything immediately right now, right? You just have to stay curious about yourself again and try to discover what you really want. And that alone can open up the doors that you didn't even know it was there. So if this spoke to you, you can simply let me know in the comments below. Not to label yourself, but just to remind yourself that you're not alone in this world. right? You're not alone feeling this way. And if you're someone who's slowly learning how to reconnect with yourself, honestly, gently, one step at a time. And I'll see you here again next week. Bye for now.